In this episode of Mighty Car Mods, we're going to look at what happened to our cars.
To have a look at what went wrong. We took 3 cars, so much potential, to that track to try and smash them and get some awesome times, and we ended up going home in a taxi.
We went home in an Uber, didn't we? And the tow truck had to go and get our cars. So we're going to dive into that today. But before we do have something very exciting. This here,
All new.
getting old school, people. Forget Netflix and chill. It's puzzle and This is the Mighty Car Mods 500-piece puzzle. This has been months and months in the making, and we're really, really excited about this. We do have limited numbers of these, but you can get them now by clicking the thing. We'll send it to you anywhere in the world. There it is. Jump on it. It's full of Easter eggs. There's lots of cool things going on.
500 piece, which is hard, but not too hard. So if you're new to the whole puzzle thing, give that a crack.
It should keep you going for a few hours. But anyway, there's that. Now, let's head back to the track and find out what went wrong with
everything.
Our cars. My car is vibrating around so much I can't even drive it, so I got to pull off. As soon as I go over 60 kilometers an hour, the whole car just shudders and shakes like crazy. So I'm limping my way back. Poor little BRZ, what have I done to you? What have I done? Oh, it's making noises it shouldn't make. Luckily, the noises it's making, it also makes when the engine's off. Could I get a tow truck to your shop, please?
Oh no, bullshit.
As soon as I get to over 60 k's an hour, the whole car just vibrates. Feels like it's gonna, it just shakes itself down to the ground. Feels like you're driving with flat tires, but I don't have flat tires, so I don't know.
It's not an engine thing or anything like that.
It is not an engine thing, because when you put the clutch in and you roll, it does it anyway. So it has nothing to do with what we've done.
I wonder if it's a gearbox.
Feels like it's the back.
Yeah, it's fine, mate. Just get down here and we'll look it out.
Okay, so today's the day after yesterday, which makes sense. It can't not be, it's not the day before yesterday. Anyway, so my car left on a tow truck, and I sent it out here to PVS. There it is. There it is. And now I just find out what the damage is. It did so well yesterday, 154, but now it doesn't work. So we can find out exactly what's wrong with it. Hello, mate.
Hey.
How you doing? Break it to me.
Good news and bad news.
Yes. The bad news.
Bad news.
Yes.
Marty got absolutely chopped.
That was good news.
Absolutely.
That's the good news.
That's
the good news.
Oh, bad news for him. Good news for you.
Yes. And the car?
Car's all right.
Is it?
Yep, perfect.
Really?
It
doesn't feel all right. It's go.
The handbrake was over-adjusted. Maybe just the extra speed you were going cooked up the brakes. Yeah, and the handbrake.
Really?
Yeah, it binds on and it creates a massive shimmy.
Okay.
Back the handbrake off and you're laughing.
So it's fine.
It's fine.
We didn't blow it up.
No,
we
perfect.
didn't wreck it.
No, all good. So,
What tool did you use to adjust the handbrake?
His name is... So I reckon it was just the heat from the track day. Again, it was a bit warmer yesterday.
Okay.
And you're going to be quicker.
Yeah.
All that sort of thing.
The internet named it. I asked them to name it BRZ as the acronym, and the most voted name was the Big Raging Zucchini.
Really?
That's what the internet wants.
Wow.
The internet gets what the internet wants.
You're going to have to paint it green.
Thank you so much
No worries, mate. All
for
good.
sending it out here. I was scared yesterday when I spoke to you. I don't know if you could hear on
I
my
was
face.
scared too when you rang me and went, oh no.
I had the elation
happened?
of winning and then the fear of going, what have I done?
No, it's all good.
But the BRZ will live to fight another day.
100%, yeah.
The question I did have for you though is we've been talking about doing coilovers for different adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
You reckon with coilovers it'll be faster again?
I'd like to say to be a second quicker without
Wow.
even blinking an eyelid.
Okay.
Yeah, or batting an eyelid. Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
What are you doing, everybody? You're doing a turbo kit?
Yeah.
Where are you up to?
I think we're taking the bumper bar off.
Oh, really?
You
Yeah,
got
done.
it right at the start.
You got a demolition saw? It's like legit the easiest way to get it off. Anyway, thank you for working on the car. Who fixed it? Which one of you actually did it? He's going to pretend he did it, but who actually did it?
These guys are awesome.
All right.
So I think it was, I don't know, it was a combination team effort.
Yeah, I could tell as soon as I lifted it up, the handbrake,
Yeah.
just like a little bit too tight. you know.
Okay.
And we'll come across Subarus are quite common to start shaking around at high speed.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We do it after
So we-
service occasionally. It's just tapping it off.
Yeah, because when I was driving it, like once I got back into the pits, I just tried rolling forward and it would roll and then grip and then roll and then grip. And I just tried yanking the handbrake on a few times, but it didn't actually make a difference.
Once they swell up, once the heat gets to them, yeah, it's just in there. Going around the track doing 80k for 3.5 k's, it would have just cooked it up.
Yeah, okay.
So sitting on the freeway.
But what was funny is that after we left, we were like, cool, we're going to have to leave it here, get the tow truck. We got in Marty's STI. We drove out of Sydney Motorsport Park. Gadunk, 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 gadunk. And then we're like, what is going on? So we turned around, we dumped it back there, rang the tow truck and said, there's actually 2 cars to get. Wow. So we know what's wrong with mine. Next thing we've got to work out with his sounds way worse than mine though. So the BRZ luckily was a simple fix. It was just a handbrake adjustment. Too sexy, that's going to be a kind of a different fix. That's kind of going to be a new cooling system because quite clearly Too Sexy is the fastest car that we have on the track here. It coasted over the line at a 155. I got a 154 and it's like you came off the accelerator probably 100 metres, 200 metres before the line. So it's clearly the fastest car, but the sad story and also the most valuable car out of all of those is this WRX STI that is making noises that sound like clunk, 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 clunk. So today we're going to try and find out what's wrong with it.
The weird thing is as well, I legitimately jumped in it thinking I'd drive it home because once we worked out the BRZ was stuffed, and this has no reg at the moment anyway, so we couldn't drive it home and it was always going to go home in a truck. But this surprised me. It didn't make the noise on the track that I could hear. On the track, it didn't really run anything over. Like I sort of had a few close calls of ripple strips, which I know you did as well, where you hit a bit of dirt.
Yeah.
But no big impacts or anything that would be the kind of thing that would likely upset the front. So I think something's going on in the front. My guess is at this stage is either a hub or a drive shaft, or as you move your way in, a center diff, or something to do with the gearbox.
Okay.
Sorry, front diff and then center diff behind it. The center diff also apparently presents itself like this when it's busted. So that's the thing I was controlling with the diff controller.
Yeah.
And they do wear out and they do break and they do get a hard time on the track. And I was messing around with the torque split. So that's my guesses.
All right.
But we're not going to really know unless we get under there and sort of just try and move. So, and if something's obviously loose, then we go, great, it's that. But a center diff and a front diff might be harder to diagnose. But by having it up here, we can slowly turn the wheels and listen. And that's about all we can do. Because honestly, if it's not something simple, it's like gearbox out.
Does it make you worried that it's like an expensive car that's broken, or because it's actually a cheap car with inflated price, so it's just the same?
Yeah, look, I mean, the value now that it's here, whether it's worth 20 grand, 40 grand, 70 grand, 100 grand, doesn't make a huge difference if you're not thinking of selling. It's like, when you live in a house or something, it's like, what's it worth? Well, I don't care because I live here.
Worth nothing till you sell it.
Yeah, exactly, worth nothing till you sell it. So either way, just because that's my car, I want to make sure it's right and it works. But again, the gearbox and driveline we put in that is 15 years old.
Yeah.
And it's probably done over 200,000 Ks already by itself. So who knows the condition of it? It's not like we're putting new stuff in it. But I'm kind of glad that that's all it is actually, because you could also put this on its lid and then you're like, oh, where's my $40,000, $70,000, $100,000 car now?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, this is interesting. That is gear oil. That's gear oil, and it looks
super wet down there.
Yeah, it is a bit wet. And I did notice that it was a little bit, tiny bit weepy. The other day I saw a little bit, but I didn't think much of it because I couldn't tell.
How was the gearbox though?
So I reckon the most common culprit is a seal on there. But the other interesting thing is if there's any movement in these drive shafts or the wheels. The other thing I've noticed as well here, which I think is a fail, and it's my own fail, is that I reckon these hub spaces are not quite the right size either, because there's just a tiny bit of movement in them. I have a theory, and I reckon that so much heat will be put in, particularly with how many hot laps we did and how fast we're going, so much heat will be put into this, and it all grows when it gets hot, and then when you stop, it shrinks and contracts again, and then grows and shrinks.
Yeah.
It did not make a noise when I came off that last hot lap where you did your PB.
Yes.
There was no noise. It wasn't until parked it up, brought that beast out, and then went to drive this later. And even driving up to the exit, I didn't hear it. Only once we stopped again did I then hear it make noise when we tried to leave in it. Yeah.
Now, if it's not making the noise at all, then we found the problem.
Amazing.
If it's still making the noise, then actually this here is actually a symptom of something else.
Yeah, something else. But I mean, either way, the little puddle of gear oil means that it's going to have to go back on the hoist and at minimum need new shaft seals in there. Because the other problem is, if you don't notice this and you drain your gearbox of oil, in Subarus, the front diff and the gear oil is all shared.
Yeah.
And if you starve any of it of oil, kablamo. The Rexy, without putting more power into it and pushing the limit and adding turbo and adding boost, adding fuel and ethanol and going down that road, is probably not going to do much more time. You could change to like full-on R compound semi-slicks or slicks. That absolutely would drop the time. And interestingly, with the two cars, probably drop them comparably because you're just the end of what the amount of grip that like high-performance street tyres like this can supply. Then there's all the other tricks with like chassis tuning and stuff. But I'm really happy with how this went, particularly because when you do drive it on the road, it's still really comfortable. It feels a little bit more sporty, a little bit stiffer with the sway bars and stuff like that, but it's still a nice car that you want to get in and drive. It's not like driving a full-on race car on the street. That is always the compromise. If you want to chase those extra 5 or 10 seconds, if you want to go really fast, you're probably going to end up with something that you're not going to want to go to the shops in, and you put your mates and they'll be like, why is it so stiff? Why is it now loud? Why is it noisy? And that's always the kind of compromise, I reckon.
The reality is they're the same. We kind of set out to go, what's the difference between, we said a $15,000 car and a $60,000 car. Maybe it's a $12,000 86 versus $80,000. I mean, prices of cars have gone through the roof. Whatever it is, it's old expensive Subaru versus new cheap Subaru. The reality is you put a little bit of work into them, put a bit of love into them, and the result's the same. Whether it's 155 or 154 point whatever, like it's the same. And people can argue about that because we're out there looking for times because it's entertaining for us and we want to see what the mods have done. The reality is when you're driving through the KFC drive-through, none of that stuff matters. And really you just got to work out what you like, what you'd rather drive. Marty would rather drive this. I'd rather drive the BRZ, believe it or not. I mean, I'd rather drive all sorts of things than a BRZ, but out of these two. But the BRZ is an excellent, I don't want to say a beginner's car because it feels like that undermines people that race them professionally and stuff. But if you want to do some basic mods, I think it's an excellent beginner car that doesn't seem too complex.
Something that can grow with you as well and you can modify, and putting a turbo on that car has fixed it. Particularly that's a stock engine, not meant for boost.
Yeah.
It's not meant to have a turbo on it. This is, and so this feels like a turbo power band and it comes ready to go and you make all the choo-choo noises. BRZ's not. So for the amount of money you can spend to just turbo and it just makes this thing, turns it from like, yeah, it's good, it handles well, like we said originally, to just being like, this is great and I want to drive it.
And you know what? The way it drives, that Garrett Gen 2 on the SME kit on the BRZ, it's as smooth as a GTI. Like if you've ever driven
it feels Euro,
like a Golf GTI, like a Mark 5, 6, 7, regardless of not even talking about your front wheel drive or blah, 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 blah. In terms of how smooth the delivery is, that's how it feels. There's none of this crazy like this. It's just, it's nice.
Modern and good, safe. Interesting.
We'll go test this. We will be getting back to Too Sexy at some point.
Yeah.
The BRZ, I think, is kind of, it's a package now I'm really happy with. So, we might see some of that or we might be driving that. But next episode, there's new cars, people. We got new challenges. There's new vehicles that have arrived.
Yep.
So
good.
Is that it? Are we done with blue Subarus just for a little bit?
Yeah, for now, just drive them around and enjoy them. I mean, this, like I said, this isn't going any faster around the track without a lot of mods. That I'm interested in around going on a track and actually defeating it because I didn't get a proper clean lap and I'm so impressed.
Yes.
And it was so fun and there is a little bit more development I want to do on it. Be later, but it's going to happen.
So the time to beat, if you are going down to Sydney Motorsport Park, and the time for Marty to beat for the BRZ was 1:54, and so that's. We need to see Too Sexy go faster than that because
on the Gardner circuit.
It was a $2,800 Lancer, and it's
with a $400 wrecker engine and a second-hand turbo off Miss Daisy and a bit of cobbled together stuff. It's incredible what that is capable of.
Yeah. So there it is, everybody. We have a brand new puzzle. Where's the puzzle, Martin?
I don't know.
Is there a puzzle? We've got a puzzle. Martin's going to talk to you about his Subaru. I'm going to find a puzzle.
I'm not. I'm going to talk to you about my Spine Shock shirt that I came up with. And I said to Iron Gove, a good mate of ours, I'm like, man, we should put a shock absorber on the back where your spine is and call it Spine Shock. And he went, all right, and came up with it, and it's mad. And it's one of my favourite shirts that we make. You can get it, you can click the thing on the Mighty Car Mod shop. And in the meantime, I'm going to tell you about this thing, about the fact that I still don't have stickers on it, and it's very controversial. Should you re-sticker your car, or should you go the D-badge clean look? The car came D-badged. It never had the little pink STI badge on the front, which I was devastated about. And I still haven't been able to find a genuine one. I don't want to put an eBay one on. So it's still badgeless. It's got no badge.
Mighty Car Mods puzzle, 500-piece puzzle. You're looking for something to do? Turn off the internet. Get old school. Get a friend together. You could play strip puzzle.
You could.
That's a kind of a game.
Is it? Did you just come up with that?
Yeah,
okay,
but
great.
Everyone who gets a piece gets to take off some clothes. I don't know. Work it out. This here is full of the most epic Easter eggs. Artwork was done by Mike Foxhall. It's incredible. It's a scene from the show, but it is full of Easter eggs. It's full
There's a lot going on in there.
All sorts of things to find. You can get them right now from the shop. That's it, everybody.
Click the thing.
Thanks for everybody who followed the
Thanks for coming on the
STI
adventure.
the
journey.
BRZ.
This was a long, much longer-winded journey than we originally thought it would be. We should get the BRZ and the two-door and then race them.
Do you know what we said with the
There's
BRZ?
like 50 hours of stuff.
The BRZ, we were like, let's get it. Let's do one episode called How to Modify Your Car, which is the thing. We'll stick it on the end. So it was just a basic episode of like stage 1 mods. I think there's 14 episodes of the BRZ now. It just got crazy.
Yep.
But that's it for now.
And I was always trying to like scratch the STI itch.
Yeah.
Oh, did that come out right?
No.
And I feel like
No,
I
it
have.
didn't.
I've done a really, really good job of scratching it. But there's always that. Head gasket?